So, welcome to this meeting of the Board of Education. This meeting is being televised live on AACPS.TV and streamed on AACPS's YouTube channel. General information and protocols for the meeting are posted on the sign by the doorway as you enter the room. So, please make sure you read those if you have not already done so. At this time, we'll have our invocation. O God, we pray to administer that which is just in all education policies, being ever mindful of your guidance. Stir us to action with love, wisdom, and understanding. And now for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And so now we're going to be moving on to item 2.03, approval of the minutes. Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve?
Second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We have consensus. And we do. Item 2.04, establishing our agenda order. Do I hear a motion?
Move to proceed with established agenda order?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Consensus? Okay, very good. Now we're moving on to item 3, public comments on agenda items. So this is the one of the opportunities that the board provides to hear the views and receive the advice of community members. The members of this board appreciate hearing from interested citizens. As appropriate, we will refer your concerns to the superintendent for follow-up by his staff. While we encourage public input on policies, programs, and practices within the purview of this board and the school system, this is not the proper forum to address specific student or employee matters or to comment on matters that do not relate to public education in Arundel County. I remind everyone that any inappropriate personnel remarks or other behavior that disrupts or interferes with the conduct of this meeting are out of order. Persons who otherwise disrupt or disturb this meeting will not be allowed to continue their remarks and will be asked to leave the meeting. It is not the board's general practice to engage in question and answer sessions with speakers. For the record, please give your name before speaking. Handouts should be given to the board assistant. I ask that speakers observe the 2-minute clock. A yellow light will shine when you have 30 seconds remaining, and a tone will sound when your time has expired. Please conclude your remarks when you hear the tone. If you continue after your time has expired, the microphone will be turned off. It could also be turned off if a speaker addresses specific student or employee matters or are commenting on matters not related to public education in Anne Arundel County. And so now I'm going to be calling up, I believe we have 3 people in person and 1 virtual. So I'm going to call up the 3 people in person, Scott Cangelosi, Elizabeth Saperstein, and Shauna Reichel. Come on down. You may stand at the podium. You may have a seat. Your choice.
Great. Thank you. Hi.
Okay.
I'm Scott Cangelosi.
Yes.
Good evening, Superintendent Bedell, President Silkworth, members of the board. Thank you for this opportunity to speak to you tonight. There is an underutilized and undervalued resource inside AACPS that stands ready to serve to address the mental health needs which challenge our students along their journeys to belong, grow, and succeed. A resource which can provide high-quality direct mental health services and help our colleagues in administration apply our uniquely broad psychosocial perspective toward understanding these challenges and their effects on students. To use this perspective to craft holistic interventions outside the box of the traditional purview of the public education system. My name is Scott Cangelosi, and I'm a proud school social worker. I use over 25 years of clinical experience to address a complex array of factors that have led to today's educational challenges and new realities. Social workers are master's level clinicians with thousands of hours of supervised clinical practice. Social workers are the only mental health providers whose position requires clinical licensure by AACPS. We are uniquely positioned to target meaningful change in students' lives. We provide individual and group counseling, family engagement, advocacy, needs assessment, resource referral, diagnostic clarification, IEP support, crisis intervention, and 100 other services that may largely go unnoticed. Anne Arundel County uses only a fraction of the school social workers' capabilities and pays them less than all the related services, including comparably qualified school psychologists and pupil personnel workers. Other counties have corrected this by placing school social workers on the same scale as the other SST members. Many of Anne Arundel's current and prospective social workers apply to these surrounding counties or transfer internally to higher paying positions. Social workers by nature advocate for others, but it has become necessary to advocate for ourselves within AACPS. Please support our bid to correct the salary scales and provide equitable compensation to school social workers. Thank you.
Thank you. Elizabeth Saperstein.
Good evening. My name is Elizabeth Saperstein, and I'm the school social worker at Meade High School. You may recognize my name from the many emails and testimonies I shared last year, advocating for pay equity for school social workers. Every year, AACPS leadership, the board, county council, and county exec emphasize the urgent need to address student mental health. Yet, the professionals with the highest level of clinical mental health training, school social workers, continue to be overlooked and undercompensated. We are licensed clinical professionals. specially trained to address complex emotional, behavioral, and systematic challenges students face today. We are essential members to the student support team. Our roles comparable to the school psychologists and pupil personnel workers, and we work collaboratively to support the whole child. But despite holding the highest clinical credentials, school social workers are paid significantly less. This sends a clear message that our expertise is not equally valued. That message comes from the top and trickles down. School leadership overlooks and underutilizes the skills and knowledge we bring to the table. Instead of paying your existing licensed clinical staff equitably, AACPS contracts out outside providers who often hold a lower license, accept only Medicaid, and carry long wait lists. Last year, the majority of you responded to my emails that you agreed school social workers deserve a long overdue pay equity with school psychologists and PPWs. A county council member even shared my photo on social media with the caption, "When educators speak, we listen." So we are here again asking you not just to say you support us, but to show it. In this year's budget, make equitable pay for social workers a real priority. Show us that our education, clinical training, and daily impact in schools matter as much as the job titles we work alongside with.
Shauna.
Hi. Good evening, Superintendent Bedell, President Silkworth, distinguished board members, and members of the community. My name is Shauna Reichel, and I have been a social worker for 25 years, with the past 10 years proudly serving as a school social worker in Anne Arundel County Public Schools. In that time, I have witnessed incredible growth in our profession as schools have recognized the essential role social workers play in supporting students' mental health and overall well-being. Since becoming our own department in 2020, we have more than doubled in size. Today, AACPS employs 72 school social workers, the only licensed mental health providers directly employed by our school system. Our work is broad and impactful. We provide individual and group counseling, family support, advocacy, needs assessments, resource referrals, diagnostic clarification, IEP participation, and crisis intervention, often filling the critical gaps that keep students connected, supported, and ready to learn. However, we are losing experienced school social workers every year to community program manager or administrative positions, and some are leaving AACPS entirely. This is not due to lack of passion, but rather a historical pay inequity that traces back to 2006, when about 14 school social workers were reclassified as Unit 1 employees and told that pay structure would soon follow. Unfortunately, that correction never happened. All the counties surrounding Anne Arundel have since addressed this issue, ensuring school social workers are placed on the same pay scale as their comparably qualified colleagues, school psychologists, and pupil personnel workers. We are simply asking AACPS to do the same and make this a priority for fiscal year 27. Thank you for your time, your leadership, and your commitment to pay equity for the professionals who help our students, families, and schools thrive.
Thank you. Now we have one person to testify virtually. Now we won't be able to see her. We will be able to hear her. That's Inez Yildir.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you, board, for allowing me to speak. I signed up unaware if this was discussing redistricting or not. I know that there was some changes in the schedule for the meeting. What exactly am I allowed to say?
According to the agenda, you have signed up to talk about calendar revision. That is what your topic should be.
Yes, for the calendar revision, that I know that there was some changes possibly to some half days for in October, and I was hoping that we can potentially keep those days and not change them to allow children to have some breaks in between, as well as considering in the future of having a fall break as some kids do in other states, maybe about 2 or 3 days to kind of break up the monotony for mental health purposes and to catch up with schoolwork.
Okay. So that does conclude our public testimony this evening on agenda items. We're going to be moving on now to our report section, item 4.01, our CRASC report.
Good evening, President Silkworth, Vice President Dent, members of the board, and Dr. Bedell. My name is Jason Seminoff Jr. My pronouns are he, him. I'm a proud sophomore at Chesapeake High School, and I'm honored to serve as the CRASC Secretary of Education. I'm delivering my report virtually this month as I'm currently performing at Severn Run High School for the annual AACPS Marching Band Expo. Since my last report, we've held 2 CRASC Town Hall meetings that focused on a wide range of student concerns. Discussions covered key topics such as the use of Canvas, transportation, service opportunities, AP classes, and the school phone policy. In recognition of October, we also highlighted Breast Cancer Awareness Month and Harvest for the Hungry. Additionally, new departmental initiatives led to engaging presentations from our service and outreach committees, announcing the Service Showcase at Severna Park High School and the new CRASC referral program. On September 20th, Severn Run High School was the host location for the MASC Workshop Presenter Training, a day full of workshops designed to certify student council members as workshop presenters for the upcoming fall leadership conferences, legislative session, and Ocean City Convention. The training focused on developing presentation skills and understanding the requirements for creating and delivering effective workshops. Participants learned how to design engaging sessions for their peer leaders and gain the tools needed to confidently present to like-minded students at future MASC events. CRASC has 38 certified presenters this year, which is 18% of the total for the state. The upcoming High School General Assembly is set for November 6th at Severna Park High School with the exciting theme, Lights, CRASC Action, Stars of Tomorrow. This event will feature MLW-style workshops designed to help student council members strengthen their leadership, communication, and public speaking skills. The day will be all about empowering student leaders to shine, both in their schools and throughout the community. Students interested in attending should contact their SGA advisor for more information. MASC is gearing up for its highly anticipated Fall Leadership Conference on November 22nd at Northwest High School. This event is an amazing opportunity for students from across Maryland to connect, attend dynamic workshops, and discover new ways to get involved at the statewide level. Students interested in attending should check in with their SGA advisors for more information. It's going to be an inspiring and action-packed day. Attention, current sophomores and juniors, state SMOB nominations are now open. Students interested in running to be the next Maryland State Student Member of the Board of Education should speak with their principal or SGA advisor to be officially nominated by November 17th. Don't miss your chance to make a difference at the state level. The first episode of Season 4 of Teen Talk premiered on Wednesday, October 1st, with new host Amanda Morataya. Tune in on the AACPS YouTube channel to find out more about educational options within AACPS and interviews with Pat Crane, Megan Lewis, and amazing students from Chesapeake Science Point. Finally, CRASC would like to give a huge thank you to our school SGAs, advisors, teachers, administrators, and staff for making Spirit Weeks and homecoming dances so incredible. Your hard work and dedication truly bring these events to life. Best of luck to the students interviewing for the Maryland General Assembly page program tomorrow. For a full list of CRASC events, head to aacps.org/CRASC and enroll in the CRASC Canvas course. That's all from me. See you next month.
Thank you. We'll now move on to item 4.02, our SEAT report.
Good evening, President Silkworth, Vice President Dent, members of the board, and Dr. Bedell. My name is Aoki Hamilton. I am an 8th grader in a Student Equity Advisory Team, or SEAT Ambassador at Central Middle School. SEAT is a student leadership program sponsored by the AACPS Office of Equity. It's a space where students listen to our peers, share our needs and experiences, and help influence practices in our school and communities. We're a diverse group of 7th to 12th graders representing every middle and high school in the county. SEAT provides students with platforms to be heard and chance to lead change. In the past years, SEAT ambassadors have played a role on school improvement teams, served as panelists
for new teachers orientations, the RISE conference, and equity symposiums. We share our ideas with school-based and district leaders, put on a spring youth empowerment symposium, and even hosted last year's Taste of Excellence food tasting event. Tonight I'm here to share the first of our 4 quarterly updates from SEAT. SEAT started the year with our kickoff event on September 16th, right here in the boardroom. We had a chance to build our SEAT connect with our school-based sponsors called SEAT designees, talk to our visions and our voice, and even meet the district leaders, including student members of the board, Brady Morgan, and our superintendent, Dr. Bedell. They each shared inspirational words and continued commitment to our honoring student voice. The kickoff was filled with over 50 ambassadors, and together we talked about issues and achievements in the AACPS over the past few years. Throughout our meetings, we worked on goals and that are possible to achieve to make our county better. As part of working with the district leaders of the kickoff, SEAT ambassadors were invited to join leadership opportunities such as food and nutrition service and ambassadors program, CRASC, and Wellness Council activities. On September 20th, several SEAT ambassadors attended this Maryland Association of Student Council Workshop Presenter Certification, where they became certified to present at a variety of mass conferences and spring conventions. Over the past few weeks, SEAT ambassadors have also applied for and been accepted onto several mass committees. We are grateful for our student leadership partners in CRAST who make sure that SEAT is kept up to date with mask activities. On Tuesday, October 14th, SEAT ambassadors also supported the AACPS You Belong Here Family Forum, Let's Talk Bullying, which was held at Southern Middle School. We were able to give a support to participants as they talked about bullying and the effect those behaviors can have on our physical and emotional health. Another highlight for SEAT so far was our virtual meeting with the Anne Arundel County Office of Equity and Human Rights on October 9th. Ambassadors got the chance to talk with Anne Arundel County leaders as they asked us questions about safety and security, well-being, and prosperity and health. Overall, in just a few short months, SEAT has helped me find the voice I always had but never used or took advantage of. Being a SEAT ambassador has inspired me to make sure everyone in my school feels seen, included, and valued. SEAT is looking forward to a great year ahead, continuing to work with our school leaders and other student leadership groups. Thank you.
Thank you. Great job. Moving on to item 4.03, our CAC report.
Good evening, Dr. Bedell and board members. I'm Michelle Cowell. I am the chair of the Citizen Advisory Committee. Good to see you again. So I'm back with a quick update for this month. So I think I mentioned last time that we brought in 15 new members to the CAC this year. So we held our new member orientation since we saw you last, and Grace Wilson spoke to us virtually about policy regulation, how they kind of play together, what our role is in the CAC in reviewing policy. We answered or tried to answer all the questions of the new members regarding their role in the CAC and the expectations for their participation. So we had a good meeting there. And then one of the things we talked about were CAC positions. So with the next slide, I'm glad to say we've filled all the positions. We had some TBDs last time. So thank you to those volunteers for stepping up for that extra work. So we're all set to go. Last meeting, we had a full suite of reports that came out in our last meeting. I want to do a shout out to Jen Wall and rather short notice, attending that Security Council meeting. We appreciate her doing that. And so some of the work of the CAC, so we had our September meeting and our first virtual meeting in October. And I talked a little bit about how we worked last time. So the policies that we examined together are listed 1, 2, and 3. So the grading policy, the use of personal electronic communication devices and graduation requirements. And what Grace Wilson described to us is if we don't have specific direction, we tend to try to answer big questions. So what does the policy do well? what might be unclear in the policy and what might the policy be missing. So we might do a little research or reach out to our communities. We get this information ahead of time and we come to our meetings prepared. So that is what we covered with use of personal electronic communication devices. We did get some instruction to look at the cell phone guidelines that came out in August of 24 to look how those guidelines align with policy and what might be changed about that policy. And it was great to revisit a couple of these policies with the new CAC, the new CAC members, but as well as having a year spent with the guidelines to have a little bit of perspective on how that went. So that was a really good conversation. Again, small breakouts, Google Forms to document feedback that will hopefully get to you, the board, after consolidation and review. So that's how we're working. So I'll just end with the list of our future meetings and thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Moving on to item 4.04, our Budget Committee report. Dr. Tobin.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, the Budget Committee met on Monday, October 13th. We looked over the FY 2027 board department budget as opposed to the entire AACPS board budget, the FY 2027 internal audit budget, and the FY 2025 operating budget closeout, which is available in our review items tonight. And we just, as always, I want to offer thanks to Mr. Stansky for his updates and some very helpful conversation more generally on what might be on the horizon with regard to funding as we go down these next months. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Tobin. Moving on to item 4.05, the President's report. So I do have a few things. First of all, on October the 8th, we were invited to an open house. It was held at Cat South. Ms. Pullum, I believe Mr. Morgan and I toured Cat South, the facility in this open house. It was actually packed with Principal Bauer. We were so excited to see the many offerings that are available to our students at Cat South. I believe there are 15 incredible programs. So that was a really great event, great evening. On October the 10th, Ms. Pullum and I attended the 8th grade assembly at Central Middle School. 8th graders had the incredible opportunity to hear Dr. Bedell's inspiring story, which included that infamous lizard video. Those that have seen it know what I'm talking about. The brave lizard who coolly and calmly escapes from all of the snakes to see the sunrise on a new and a brighter day. Life has its challenges, but when we persevere and do our very best, we can overcome adversity. That was some of the messages Dr. Bedell was giving to these 8th graders. I've seen this presentation from Dr. Bedell many times, and each time I see and hear Dr. Bedell tell his story, it is so impactful for our students. Congratulations to Dr. Bedell for a great job, as always. To Central Middle 8th grade students for welcoming us and for being an absolutely wonderful and fantastic audience. They also had so many questions. It was clear that Central Middle students appreciated and understood the message delivered by Dr. Bedell. Great students, great staff, great event. On Monday, October 13th, the Budget Committee met, and we just heard a report from Dr. Tobin. Thank you, Dr. Tobin. On Tuesday, October the 14th, that was yesterday, we had our first chance to pay tribute to the nominees for the 2025-26 Anne Arundel County Public Schools Teacher of the Year, as our Education Foundation hosted an event for them at Seasalt, Annapolis. We have 88 nominees for this year's award. This was a great opportunity for our board and our team to talk with these amazing educators in an informal session and just to get to know them a little bit better. Congratulations to all of our nominees. This also was an absolutely great event. Dr. Bedell recognized the importance of honoring our teachers and staff, and this event was designed to get our Teacher of the Year nominees together, to get to know one another, and simply to celebrate the greatness that we are so lucky to be a part of here in Anne Arundel County. Dr. Bedell, I thank you, Mr. Callahan, for this wonderful night of celebration. I had the opportunity to express my sincere gratitude to so many of these magnificent teachers. We appreciate all of our teachers here in Anne Arundel County. The common theme seemed to be that our teachers absolutely love doing what they do for students every day. When I taught, I often thought how amazing it was to be paid for having so much fun teaching. And that was the common theme that I heard also. I heard the same thing from so many of the teachers. What a night. The 2025-26 Teacher of the Year will be announced in April. Good luck to all of our nominees this year. So at this time, I would like to recognize Ms. Pullum. Ms. Pullum, you have an event that you want to talk about.
All right, I just want to give a huge shout out to our Southern FFA students. Are you there? Raise your hands, stand up. Yesterday we had our SoCo trunk or treat. We had roughly 1,500 children and family members come. We had over 40 cars decorated from small businesses, hay rides, pumpkins, the whole 9 yards. We had the CTE van right in the middle, and Mr. Smack was there greeting every single one of those cars. But most importantly, thank you, students, for all you do in our community. The proceeds from the tickets from the gate were split between the Southern FFA and the 4-H Club. So thank you to the community for all you do, and students, keep doing what you're doing. We're really excited and proud of you. Thank you.
Okay, that does conclude the President's report. We'll move on to item 4.06, our Superintendent's report. Dr. Bedell.
All right. Thank you, Mr. President. I want to start by congratulating and thanking everyone involved in our Food and Nutrition Services program for all that they do to help bring nutritious and delicious meals to students across our school every single day. This is National School Lunch Week, so it's a perfect time to simply say thank you to an amazing group of people whose work largely goes unnoticed by the public because they are behind the scenes. So thank you all for what you do. Last week, our school district administered the pre-SAT 8-9 to our high school freshmen and the pre-SAT to 11th graders across the county. As I have said before, these are crucial opportunities that we provide free of charge to students to help prepare them for life after they graduate and to open doors to scholarship opportunities. The tests for our 9th graders not only help get students ready for the SAT, which they will take in the spring of their junior year, but open avenues to other opportunities as well. The 11th grade fall assessment provides scores that can lead to national merit scholarships in students' senior years. Our school district has 9 National Merit Scholar semifinalists from this particular school year, and that's 8 more than what we had in 2022 when this team was put together. We administered more than 10,000 exams for the second straight year, but we can do better. We need our families to join with our principals and schools to get all of our high school students to take these exams. Again, they are free and they take place during the school day. On Monday, we announced our schedule of 22 high school commencement exercises for the class of 2026. I know I speak for our board and our entire team when I say that we are already excited. I mean, we are all of us are ready and excited about sharing this great milestone in the lives of more than 5,000 students, including this young man sitting next to me. We'll be hosting 22 ceremonies, 14 of them at live. And we'll have 8 more at smaller venues. All details are online at www.aacps.org/graduations. As we do at each meeting, here's just a quick look at our updated vacancy numbers. As you can see, we're at 26 teacher vacancies compared to 54 last year. And so we're still making progress. We continue to make progress with teacher assistants, 19 at this juncture when we started to provide this report to you all. We were at 49. We know food service workers is an area that we have to work on. It's also something that I've aggressively tried to really figure out ways that we can do things differently, whether it's compensation, whether it's looking at hours. There's a lot of logistics that go into this space, but this is a number that we have to work on, and you can see the remaining numbers here. I'm very pleased, again, with the progress that we continue to make, but just please know we will not stop until we see zeros across the board. That is my aspiration. And finally, we talk a lot about developing relationships as we create a school community where everyone can belong, grow, and succeed. And there are many ways to do this. Here's one that I saw on a recent visit to South River High School. This is in a classroom, and it asks parents one simple question. What one wish do you have for your student this year? The responses were what you'd expect. Things like enjoy learning, grow confidence, believe in himself, and even learn Canvas. But the effort and the display are powerful reminders of how simple it is to reach out and create bonds that strengthen student belonging and achievement. Yes, these are the things that I do when I go into schools. I take pictures and I immediately send them to cabinet members when there are pictures that capture me, and it says a lot about what we're doing to be very intentional to ensure that our parents are a part of what we're doing in educating their students. And so this is just one of those examples. Mr. President, that concludes the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Dr. Bedell. And so now we're going to be moving on to item presentation, item 5.01, Phase 2 redistricting update. Dr. Bedell.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to start with this before I even go into my written notes here, because I think it's important for me, again, to just constantly reiterate to everybody that we do operate with a high degree of transparency, and part of what you're getting ready to hear tonight is another example of that. What I hope, and this is it's really something that a board member shared with me, but it's something that I didn't need a board member to tell me to ultimately speak about this. We have a lot of animosity and anger that is being directed towards the school district, and I get it. Rightfully so, because again, most of our people have made decisions on where you want to live, and you did your research based on the school in that particular community. So I get it. But then we have situations here where we have community members at each other. We have community members threatening each other. And I just simply ask people that we try to do everything in our power to operate with some level of cordiality. We don't need to be in a situation where people are having a fear for their safety within the community because they spoke up or they said something that you didn't like or they presented something that you didn't agree with. There's a reason why we have a process, and that's what we're trying to go through. And it's important for people to fully understand. Again, we said this in phase 1, we said this again in phase 2, that unfortunately there is some balancing that will have to take place because the data dictates it. You're going to hear more about that. Now, Mr. Mosier, my apologies for going off script. Now I'm going to go ahead and read this script, but I needed to say that. So thank you, Mr. President. Let me say at the outset that I appreciate the board moving the first public redistricting hearing from Monday night so that it could hear this presentation. We have collectively tried to be totally transparent in what we've done, and this is more evidence of that. Tonight, the board and the public will hear a staff presentation on the unofficial and preliminary school year enrollment figures for some of the schools in phase 2 of the redistricting plan. It is important for everyone to know that these numbers just recently became available to us because they were collected on September 30th and then had to be analyzed. While they are still being finalized, they do offer valuable insight as we assess and plan for the needs of our students in schools. This data will continue to inform our work on phase 2 of redistricting, ensuring decisions are grounded in current realities and future projections. I will, for this first portion, turn it over to Dr. Heiser and Mr. Roof, and they will do their presentation, and then we will have Q&A for the board before I move on to the second phase of this particular agenda item. I'll pass it over to you, Dr. Heiser.
Thank you. President Silkworth, members of the board, and Dr. Bedell. I am Bill Heiser, Chief Operating Officer of AACPS, and I am joined by my colleague,
Kyle Roof, Executive Director of Facilities.
This Phase 2 redistricting update is focused on the preliminary and unofficial 2025-26 student enrollment information and how it aligns with the two recommendations from the superintendent. As with most presentations, we'll be using several acronyms, and so I'll take a moment for you to review those at this time. They're a little more straightforward than usual. This agenda outlines the key topics we will cover, starting with an enrollment comparison of our Phase 2 schools. Then we'll take a closer examination of the impact the updated enrollment for school year 2025-26 has on redistricting, specifically the superintendent's recommendations 1 and recommendation 2. Importantly, we are comparing the official school year 24-25 enrollment to the preliminary and unofficial enrollment for this school year. Last year, AACPS had a total of 85,029 student enrollments, compared to this year's 84,154, which is a decrease of 875 students. Listed in the left-hand column are all Phase 2 schools that are over 100% utilization in either last school year, SY 24-25, or this school year 25-26. For your reference, the second column shows the state-rated capacity, known as SRC, for each school facility. I'm going to go through them and address them so you have the numbers because it's a little bit difficult to see, but we'll post this information. Belvedere Elementary School decreased 22 students, or 4.3%, from 103.9 utilization to 99.6. Crofton High School decreased by 30 students, or 1.7%, from 110.7% utilization to 108.9%. Crofton Middle School increased by 13 students, or 1%, from 100.4% utilization to 101.4%. Davidsonville Elementary School increased by 8 students, or 1.2%, going from 102.7% utilization to 103.9%. Folger McKinsey Elementary School increased by 14 students, or 2.2%, going from 99.2% utilization to 101.4%. And Four Seasons Elementary School decreased by 39 students, or 5.9%, going from 100.3% utilization to 94.4%. Odenton Elementary School increased by 7 students, or 1.2%, going from 100.3% utilization to 101.5%. Tracy's Elementary School decreased by 16 students, or 3.6%, going from 101.1% utilization to 97.5%. Two Rivers Elementary School increased by 38 students, or 6.4%, going from 94% utilization to 100.3%. And lastly, Wachapel Elementary School decreased by 39 students, or 7.2%, going from 101.5% utilization to 94.3%. Phase 2 schools with large utilization movements greater than 10% are Annapolis Elementary School and Severn Run High School. Severn Run High School has an unofficial enrollment of 297 students larger than last year, while Annapolis Elementary School enrollment declined by 38 students. Now I'll turn it over to Mr. Roof, who will review the enrollment comparisons for SR1 and SR2.
So as a reminder, utilizations noted under the far right column of the chart are reflective of the school year 24-25 student enrollment counts and do not reflect unofficial student counts or future growth. Both SR1 and SR2 propose identical elementary school level boundary changes. In Area A, we are seeing notable enrollment changes year over year at Two Rivers Elementary School, Seven Oaks Elementary, and Manorview Elementary. Due to ongoing residential development in the region of the county, Two Rivers Elementary School continues to see growth and has increased 6% or 38 students from school year 24-25. Two Rivers Elementary School is currently sitting at 100% utilization, and future development in the area has been submitted to the Office of Planning and Zoning for sketch review that will likely continue to increase enrollment for this school. Alternatively, Manorview and Seven Oaks are seeing reductions in enrollment between 2 and 5%, allowing for more space for the proposed student movement. In Area B, SR1 and SR2 are noting growth at Davidsonville and Edgewater Elementary School between 1 and 2%. For middle school boundary adjustments, we're seeing continued growth in the western portion of the county, with 3% increase in enrollment at Arundel Middle School, 7% increase enrollment at MacArthur. Crofton Middle School remains relatively stable at 101% utilization. In Area B, enrollment at Central Middle School also remains stable. In Area C, most growth is being observed at Severna Park Middle School at 2%. At the high school level, the SR1 recommendation, we are seeing utilization movements at Crofton, Arundel, Annapolis, and South River High School. The most impactful is the 4% reduction in enrollment at Annapolis High School. In SR2, we again want to highlight the noticeable utilization difference at Annapolis High School. This utilization change, along with the 14% increase in utilization at Severn Run High School, impact the viability of moving the APEX program to Severn Run High School.
At this time, we'll turn it back over to the board for questions. Thank you.
Dr. Tobin?
Yes, Mr. President, I move that item 5.01 go from an information item to an action item.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and we have a second. Do we have consensus? We do have consensus. Okay. So I'm looking for lights for questions. Dr. Tobin?
Thank you. Thank you very much for that update, Dr. Heiser and Mr. Roof. So there's a fair amount to take in, particularly as far as the Annapolis cluster is concerned here. Let me begin by asking, so you noted on the slide where there had been a 10% change that Annapolis Elementary has dropped to 50% utilization. Just for clarification for myself and the public, is it correct that the threshold for receiving state funding for capital improvement projects is 60% utilization? Is that correct?
That's what the current standards are at the state.
The current standards. Okay, so Annapolis Elementary would be, by these numbers, 10% below that? Okay. Are there any other schools in the Annapolis cluster that have fallen below that threshold?
Yes. Georgetown East Elementary School is at 47.3% utilization.
47.3. Okay.
Annapolis Middle School is at 50.4%.
Okay.
Those are the schools that are below
That are
60 in the
below
Annapolis
60.
feeder.
In the Annapolis feeder. Okay, thank you. So by these numbers, we have I think it was 874 students that we don't have this year in effect. Do we have any information or any way of gathering any information on who these students are, any demographic information, for example, and any sense of what has happened?
That's a good question, and one that we'll certainly be digging into over the next several weeks. It's too preliminary at this point to be able to provide any demographic level data or even specific grade level, as the data team has to clean up and go through a process that they call cross LEA cleanup, in which they work with other LEAs to decide when students are highly mobile to determine which LEA they're going to reside in. And so over the course of from back in September 30th, when the data was being finalized, to mid-November is kind of the time frame that we work with, where we'd have a better idea.
Okay, thank you. And just finally, and thank you to my colleagues, I obviously this is a lot with regard to the Annapolis cluster. With regard to Annapolis High, so I just want to make sure I understand what I'm seeing here. So the utilization number drops from 100 to 96% if we do nothing, if we move no students out of Annapolis High. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so that is, and if I'm understanding what I'm seeing about Severn Run, which I gather acquired more students than they expected, there simply would not be space to move the Apex students to Severn Run. Is that correct?
At this time, with the unofficial numbers,
And
yes, that's correct.
Correct. In fact, I was noticing they end up at Annapolis and Severn Run, I believe, end up at exactly the same utilization. I think they both end up at 96 with these changes.
That's correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Ms. Pullum.
Staying with the Annapolis feeder, I have a few questions. With the 96% that you're currently tracked with the new enrollment data, if the Gingerville, Poplar, and Will Eleanor were to move into the Annapolis feeder, what would that utilization be?
It's a 2% increase, going from 96.4% utilization to 98.4% utilization. And the math behind that is approximately, there's 2,009 unofficial students at the moment at Annapolis High School. That includes, obviously, the Apex students. And approximately, round number, with 42 students from the areas that you mentioned, bringing the total to 2,051 students. And Annapolis has an SRC of 2,083, and that's how you get to 98.4.
I'm sorry, 2,000, what's the?
83.
Okay, thank you. The next question, and as it relates to Annapolis, Rolling Knolls, you didn't, this is, I think, if you could, I'm not sure if you have this data with you. I would like to know Rolling Knolls before the, what was the utilization before the new number, the new numbers came in, and what is it now? And the same with Mills Parole.
Rolling Knolls, school year 24-25, 76%. School year 25-26, unofficial, 75. And what was the second school?
Mills Parole.
Mills Parole, school year 24-25, 79.2%. Make sure I can follow. School year 25-26, unofficial 69.8.
Okay, and then the last one, Edgewater Elementary.
Last school year, Edgewater Elementary was 87.3% utilization. This year, unofficially, with 587 students, it's 88.8%.
So it went up. Okay. I'm going to pass right now. I want to just stick with the with Annapolis with Dr. Tobin.
Okay, I'm Ms. Schauheim.
What was that last number for Edgewater for this year? I'm sorry, unofficially.
Unofficially, 88.8.
Thank you.
Ms. Pullum, is your light back on?
It sure is. We're gonna switch now to the Davidsonville Elementary School. Is that okay? Anybody? All right. So I wanted to ask some historical information, just to clarify first, and then I want to ask some other data based on what you provided. Can you? I know it seems that it was a long time ago, but can you discuss why you did not move, why the superintendent did not move forward with the two scenarios that was highlighted with the consultants? And what I'm talking about is, in the two scenarios, there was one scenario where there was a slice of Riva on the right-hand side of Riva Road, where you had Annapolis Landing, Waterford, Berkshire, and Cambria. There was a slice taken out there in one of the recommendations, which you did not move forward with. There was another scenario where you had a part of Davidsonville all the way down being shifted to a different cluster, the southern cluster. Can you just provide a little context as to why you did not move forward with those recommendations?
Sure, absolutely. Well, number one, just to clarify, Ms. Pulliam, there were three scenarios that the consultant came up with, and they weren't, and you didn't indicate this, they weren't recommendations, they weren't plans, they were scenarios at that, a starting place, giving kind of three different versions from an external entity, looking at it as objectively as they can. So that's number one. And then number two, if you recall, in those scenarios, we provided metrics around student stability. So number of students kind of impacted with the scenarios. Distance traveled was another metric that we looked at, just to name two specifically. But then after we developed those, we got community feedback, thousands and thousands of input, through the portal that we set up for well over a month. So those variables plus community feedback help shape not just the specific area that you're kind of highlighting, but both recommendations across all phase 2 schools. So those were two things that certainly came into play, the feedback and what we heard. And specifically, when we listened to the feedback and looked at it, again, it was around the number of students that were impacted. And if I recall in scenario 1 and 2, I'd have to go back and fact check this, but there were many more students impacted by the move as it relates to Davidsonville. And so that number was very high. The other is there was a greater distance traveled. And so when you're traveling on rural roads and traveling the distance from, it was movement south, going south from Davidsonville into the southern feeder system. And so that it also introduced a feeder pattern change, was another variable that we also consider and just think about as part of it. So that feedback played a role there. And so we made the determination, and Dr. Bedell did, that that a more surgical approach was required to take a look at how it might be more effective in choosing a smaller number of students in the areas you mentioned.
And the other side of Riva Road, what was the, do you have, was, I know you, I don't know if you have other, because there's the two, right? So, or is it the same thing? You were looking at the smaller number?
Well, certainly numbers played a role in it. I believe the number ended up being 27 students. And so if you were to recall looking at that map, it's unfortunately we can't show it here, but you would see that on the right side of Riva Road, you have Sylvan Shores, Riva, Tarzan Forest, South River Heights. Those were areas that were already going to Central Elementary School. And so on the other, directly other side of Riva, you have Glen Isle, which is Glen Isle Road that leads on up. And that's kind of a main artery. And so you have the neighborhoods of Glen Isle, Hamilton, you have Hamilton Road, you have Riva Farms. And so it touches certainly some of Riva, but it also touches into the Davidsonville neighborhoods as well.
Okay. All right, thank you. With the new utilization numbers, the 99%, I know you mentioned that you put in a request to change the SRC. What would the SRC be if the request is approved?
They would, the current SRC is 671. I know Mr. Roof will correct me if I'm inaccurate, but it's 671 currently. We've put a request in to adjust one room at that school, which increased it to 694.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Can I ask another? Is it okay? Or does anyone want to ask another question?
Go ahead.
Okay, so switching over to Central Elementary School, their SRC now, if we were to keep the South River Colony for communities there, what would that SRC be? Just to get a better understanding.
You gotta add in the 27, yeah. So as long as you added that in.
Yeah. So the unofficial enrollment at the moment, or September 30, was 569. 569. If we add the 27 students or 37 students, if to look at the movement chart, make sure I get it right. 27 students. That brings you to 596. So it's 569 plus 27 gets you to 596. The SRC again was 610. That'll put you at 97.7% utilization.
Okay. I'm gonna see if there are any other colleagues that'd like to ask questions. I don't want to dominate the questions.
Yes, there is. Look at your lights.
Ms. Shine.
Thank you. I want to ask about Belvedere Elementary. Understanding that there was a reduction in enrollment, do you foresee the new enrollment? I mean, it's hard to ask because like you all don't have a crystal ball, but it's still essentially overcrowded because it ups out at 99.6%, correct?
It's just under capacity right now. The concern we would have is the programs that are in that specific school. So there are special education programs that are in that school that do take up quite a bit of space. So we still believe that redistricting in that area is essential.
Okay, understood. And then going up to Severn Run High School and the massive increase of enrollment that in my mind wasn't totally foreseen, or we would have factored that in earlier stages of this redistricting exercise. Is that a factor of it being like just like a new school and, you know, an amazing building and obviously incredible staff. I mean, let's be real. Or is it a bump that'll taper down again? Or is this like, do you foresee this being a sustained, pretty much in your capacity situation?
Well, I think it's important to remember that the school was built to be 2137, right? We did move Carver staff development into that building this summer. That reduced that SRC down to what it is right now. So there is potential for additional room space in that building. But with that being said, 1 year of enrollment data is very difficult to discern cohort survival rates and the bump you see from 8th grade to 9th grade. We saw it last year. We saw a bump. We thought that was a new school bump. It turns out that people like to go to Severn Run. I think it's a combination of we built a new feeder pattern. We have a new cluster. We're seeing stronger numbers transition from 8th grade to 9th grade, and then also continue from 9th grade to 10th grade. That's something we didn't see from those students where they were on previous years.
Okay, and do you think there's going to be a lot of development scheduled in the pipeline for that catchment area?
I would have to look at the CSR, which is somewhere in this
Yeah.
thing, but it will be presented later
Somewhere
in the
in the
night.
stack of
There is
papers,
quite a bit of
understood.
development listed on the CSR.
There is.
This month. So
Oh, boy. Okay.
development is healthy
Yeah, for
as
sure.
far as the sketch reviews and approvals that are going through OPZ. We're trying to collect that information so that we can update our next EFMP to better reflect that.
And then just one more time, it increased 297 students and went from somewhere in the 80s to what again? I'm so sorry.
It's 96, I believe.
To 96%. Oh, that's right, because you were saying. Okay. All right. Thank you. That's all I have. Thank you.
Dr. Tobin.
Thank you. So as I absorb this, a couple of additional questions. So again, back to the Annapolis cluster, we have at least 2 elementary schools. Now, Annapolis Middle is a little bit different. First of all, the SRC, we've had some of these conversations about the sort of functional usage of the school and that the SRC is potentially a little misleading. So I'm not going to focus on that as much, but what I've heard suggests to me, I've got 2 elementary schools that are significantly below the threshold, in particular Georgetown East, which is, I just heard 47.3%. What are the implications of that? I mean, what does that mean with regard to operating? Let's go with Georgetown East for a moment, because that's, first of all, that is an older building. I believe there's several, at least 1 or 2 projects we're working through. We're trying to get started there, and it is a building that I sense needs some work. What are the implications of these numbers for operating that school?
I could speak from a physical plant perspective. From a physical plant perspective, the building is the building. You're heating the whole entire building. You're maintaining the entire building. So the cost is similar to what it would be if you have 1 student in there, or if you have 10.
So it's a fixed cost in effect, right? Yep. What about getting money for CIP projects?
We will have to see how that all works this year. I'm not sure if those 2 schools, Annapolis is fairly new.
Right.
2014, I believe, is when it was built. And Georgetown East shows up as a systemic project in the FY27 request, but I think it's important to keep in mind that we asked for 77 million and the state said 20 million.
Right.
So
Right, so,
there's a little bit of a divide there. It's unlikely that we'll receive the full 77 request.
right. Could I ask about some of the surrounding schools? So what is the, we heard Ms. Pulliam asked about Mills Parole. What's the impact on Hillsmere of this? Has there been an impact on Hillsmere of this enrollment change?
So Hillsmere unofficially saw a decrease of 7 students and moving from a utilization of 79.4% to 78.1%.
Okay, so
So
they're,
relatively stable.
yeah, so they're at 78.1. What about Eastport Elementary?
Eastport, again, very similar, 6 student decline, so relatively stable, going from 87.6% utilization to 85.8.
Okay. And Tyler Heights?
Also stable, 4 student increase, going from a 73.6% utilization to 74.3.
Okay, and I'm sorry, just to remind me, what is the Mills Parole number now?
69.8%.
Okay, so they're just below 70%.
Yep.
Okay. So I'm going to ask this question because I think I have to ask it in light of, at least with regard to Annapolis. Because as Mr. Roof just said, working on 1 year of data is very tricky. If this is a pretty volatile change, that I don't think, as it now stands, we do know exactly what's happened. And maybe I should direct this to Dr. Bedell. Is there any reason, given this data in your mind, Dr. Bedell, that there would be any benefit to, if not for the whole area impacted for Annapolis, pausing the redistricting process?
Yeah, the answer to that is no for me.
Okay.
I think if you look at some of the trend data, and I took a look at some of Annapolis High School data over the last 3 years, there's been a slight regression over the last 3 years. So it's not just a singular year event that has occurred. I think the event is a lot more significant when you think about just school enrollment as a whole. There's an article today where Montgomery County was talking about the significant decline in enrollment in their school district.
Yeah.
I've spoken to other superintendents who were actually growing at a faster rate than we are. And while they grew, they didn't grow at the expected rate. Last year, we had a negative 2.5% decline in public school education enrollment. Anne Arundel was shielded from that last year. We actually went up, which had kind of been a traditional thing for us. But I think a number of the events that have occurred this year, and I believe when we go in and we disaggregate the data and look at who actually are no longer enrolled into our schools, I think it'll be easy. I mean, you can use deductive reasoning now to try to figure out, given the population we serve out here in the Annapolis cluster, who many of those kids probably will be. And so I don't see, given what I know in the data that I have, a reason at this point for a pause. I think there is a reason for us to make some pivots, and that's something that I constantly talk about that I will suggest in a few minutes.
In light of what you've just said, do you think it is wise to continue to operate a school at 47.3%?
Yeah, I think that's that is a question that we will need to really process. The answer to that question is we have to look at efficiencies. And I often talk about efficiencies and how do we make sure that we're maximizing taxpayer money to the highest degree possible. And so I think there are some opportunities in a situation that's not good, that it could turn out to be a really good situation as we continue to engage, look at the data, and try to figure out what's the best case scenario. But I would tell you, in any of the systems that I've worked in, trying to run a facility that only is at 50% capacity creates a lot of inefficiencies that sometimes can become indefensible. So that is something that we will definitely take a look at as we continue to review this data.
So, I mean, again, if I was absorbing this and understanding it, given the utilization rates at the schools surrounding Georgetown East, there would be space for the students in Georgetown East to move to those schools?
I think we kind of shared some of that data, and I believe that given the fact that those schools aren't at 100% capacity or over, I mean, that's a viable option.
Okay. All right. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Ms. McFarland.
Thank you. Just because I'm kind of a data geek, I just want to make sure so you said there's a process for determining sort of how the enrollment shifts happen. Is there a timeline for that process and when we can see sort of how it happened and then adjust accordingly and see if it affects projections going forward? And will that happen prior to our decision about redistricting?
Well, yes, I think once the data has become finalized and it's submitted by our IDD office to MSDE and it's been certified, then I know the team, like all data, will be able to disaggregate it, really look at it, analyze it, determine it, see where we grew, where we didn't, where those places are, looking also at demographic trends, shifts, leveling, with all those kinds of things. We'll be able to look at that. And so to give you a timetable, we've always kind of used the mid-November timetable as when we may be finalizing the data to MSDE. Probably too premature to say whether it would be able to keep pace with the redistricting process. Because it's likely that I would say conservatively December, beginning of December-ish, right? And I'm not trying to slow play this, but I think I would defer to the IDD office, but I think that's pretty fair. And I know we've shared information about while we don't want to rush the process, we want to make sure we have all the information. At the same time, we can't have analysis paralysis. We can't stop the process. So hopefully that helps you, given a timetable.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
And Leslie, are we able to get an updated unofficial enrollment by grade for these schools?
No, we just have school level data at this point.
When it's finalized, though, when it's all said and
Prior
done?
to making our decision on redistricting?
I don't think so. No.
Yeah, we just have whole school data at this point that's unofficial.
Okay.
Because I think what's happening right now is, as they said, we're having to cross LEA, we're having to scrub data. And I think there's still volatility. I think the reason why we wanted to give you all the aggregate data, because I don't know that there will be a lot of variability in the overall data. When we start going into looking at it from a macro or micro level, that becomes, to me, a lot more difficult to predict until it is official. So we can look at the data, but I don't have any confidence in saying pinpoint here's a number of 10th graders, 11th graders, or 12th graders, or 5th graders, when you have some of our schools that have had the amount of movement that they've had.
Ms. McDermott.
Thank you. I just wanted to walk us back to the slide on SR1 and SR2 regarding the middle schools, if we can do that. It would be like district, there we go. Yeah, District 4. Can you just kind of walk us through the numbers one more time on Arundel Middle School? In particular, I'm interested in kind of what the decrease comes from, given that we're moving 103 kids to Arundel and only taking 81 out.
So I think it's important to remember, we're not looking at apples and oranges, right?
Okay.
That's very important. So we wanted to maintain consistency. So what the consultant really did was they took student level data, dot maps, moved a certain number of students. I can't tell you where those 3% of students live, whether it was uniformly distributed across Arundel or whether it was isolated to one neighborhood or several neighborhoods, and what side of the line that was when we moved it. So we don't have that level of information right now. So what we're essentially showing is the school year 24-25 column was what the utilization was last year officially. The 25-26 column is the unofficial data, and the delta is the delta between those 2 years. So that's the 3%. Now the SR1 and SR2 is directly from the report of the movement of those 24-25 students. So that, tell me if that's answering your question.
I think for right now it will.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, seeing no more lights, we've had a presentation and questions. We've moved it from to an action item up. Ms. Pullum?
Quick question. In terms of Edgewater Elementary, you gave me the information for Rolling Knolls before and after Mills Pearl, Edgewater. What I'd like to know is what would the utilization be for Edgewater Elementary if we removed the South River Colony neighborhoods from the utilization? And then my next question, what would it be if we just removed the Gingerville, Poplar, and Will Eleanor?
I think you're going to have to explain which
So
scenario you're looking
so with
at.
the Edgewater, with the Edgewater Elementary School, we have the 88.8%. In the plans that we move forward, we have South River Colony, the 4 neighborhoods, and we have the 4 neighborhoods there. So what would that be if we remove the 4 neighborhoods? What would that utilization be?
Taking that out.
Ask your question again.
Okay. So current state, Edgewater Elementary, Gingerville, Poplar, Wood Eleanor, their current state, they're in that utilization. What I'd like to do is figure out in the plans, we added in the plans that we have South River Colony, the 4 communities coming into Edgewater Elementary. What would that SRC be if they did not move into Edgewater Elementary? I believe it's roughly 89%, but I wanted to verify that.
So those communities you mentioned, Poplard, Will Eleanor, Gingerville.
No, I'm asking if we do not
If
move, like the plans that we have now, take the 89% utilization up to roughly 93 with the new enrollment numbers.
Okay.
What would that be if we did not move the South River Colony neighborhoods into Edgewater and kept them into Central? What would the Edgewater enrollment be? Would it would remain at 89%, right? Just want to verify that.
We're checking.
Okay, thank you.
37 elementary.
She's saying to take them out or keep them in, right?
I think she's saying keep the kids at. So there's 37 kids in the South River. Are you asking to keep the 37 students from South River Colony in Central?
Yeah, so I'm asking what would the utilization of Edgewater be if that happened, if we kept them in Central?
And the area across the river stays in Edgewater?
That's correct for the first question. And then the next question, actually, I'd like to know what would that utilization be if we did not have
I
the
think,
Ginger Ale, Poplar, and Will Eleanor
I
and the 4 communities.
I don't want to give you the wrong information. And
Okay,
this
I'll
is-
get that afterwards. Thank you.
Okay, so Dr. Bedell.
Thank you to Dr. Heiser and Mr. Root, and to the board for those questions. The new enrollment data these gentlemen just went over provided me with the ability to examine some different options and potentially move fewer students than either of the recommendations I put forward previously. As a result, I am presenting to you, the board, tonight, Superintendent's Recommendation 3, SR3, which builds off of Superintendent's Recommendation 2, SR2. I would like to ask Dr. Heiser and Mr. Roof to explain the adjustments contained in this recommendation, and then ask the board to consider moving it forward to public hearing and adding it to those plans already under consideration at public hearing. So for this presentation, I'll pass it back to Bill and Kyle.
Thank you, Dr. Bedell. So based on this new information just presented, as Dr. Bedell indicated, there are 2 modifications to Superintendent Recommendation 2, known as SR2. Those 2 modifications will become Superintendent Recommendation 3, SR3. To acknowledge the enrollment stability and very slight decline occurring at Crofton Elementary and Crofton Meadows Elementary, this recommendation maintains the current boundaries of both schools. SR2 has the Shadywood Circle area shaded on the map, moving from Crofton Elementary to Crofton Meadows Elementary. In SR3 Area B, the new recommendation would keep this shaded area in Crofton Elementary. All other boundary changes at the elementary level in SR2 would be maintained under SR3. To address and acknowledge the changing enrollment pattern changes occurring at Severn Run and Annapolis High School, a proposed modification of SR2 is suggested. In SR3 Area B, the new recommendation would keep the Apex Arts Magnet Program at Annapolis High School, since enrollment has dropped by 4% and can support the student population currently attending the school. All other boundary changes associated with SR2 would be maintained under SR3. I'll turn it back over to Dr. Bedell.
Thank you. And if there are questions, Mr. Silkworth, from the board, we will file those now, take those now before I make a formal recommendation.
Okay, so seeing no lights, I think we're ready for your recommendation.
Thank you both. With that, the superintendent recommends the board move forward to public hearing an additional proposed phase 2 redistricting recommendation presented to the board on October 15th, 2025. The recommendation referred to as SR3, Superintendent Recommendation 3.
So moved.
You have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a second. Do we have any discussion? Ms. Pullen.
I would like to motion to make the superintendent recommendation 3, turn that into BR3. I would also like to add an amendment to add that the South River Colony 4 communities, instead of moving them to Edgewater Elementary, keep them at Central Elementary School and remove the Gingerville, Poplar, and Will Eleanor from the other 4 plans. Did I say that right?
Well, we have a motion and a second before us, and I believe we have to deal with that motion first.
Oh, so the first. Okay.
So
So make
I'm
a,
looking for any discussion on that motion.
right, the initial motion.
Yeah.
So I make a motion to move forward.
No, we have one on the floor we have to deal with first. After that, if you have a motion, yes. Okay,
I second it. Thank you.
you withdraw.
For
Okay.
now, we'll come right back.
Okay, so we do have a motion. We have a second. Seeing no more lights, no more discussion. Ms. Howe.
Yes, Ms. Schallheim moved to approve the recommendation of Dr. Bedell of SR3, which maintains all recommended elementary school movements in SR2 with the exception to Shadywood Circle, which will remain at Crofton Elementary School. It also maintains all recommended middle school and high school movements in SR2 with the exception of Apex Arts Magnet Program, which would remain at Annapolis High School. Ms. McFarland.
Aye.
Mr. Morgan.
Aye.
Dr. Tobin.
Aye.
Ms. McDermott.
Aye.
Ms. Pulliam.
Aye.
Ms. Schallheim.
Aye.
Mr. Silkworth.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Okay, so now, do I see any lights? Ms. Pullum.
I would like to make a motion to take the SR3 and turn that into a BR3 and to add an amendment to not move the South River Colony communities to Edgewater Elementary and keep them at Central Elementary School. And to remove from every plan the Gingerville, Poplar, and Will Eleanor into the Rolling Knolls, Bates, and Annapolis feeder. Did I say that? No. Wrong.
Yeah, Dr. Tobin.
I move that we go into recess for a few minutes to consider the proper wording of this, except our attorney is shaking his head.
Yeah, Mr. Burns.
Not my habit, for the record, Aaron Burns, sports attorney. It's not my habit to jump in and interrupt you all on a point of order because point of orders are something that board members are supposed to call themselves. My name is Schallheim. I know this was about to say something. We talk about this all the time. Motion should be as simple and clear as possible and as singular as possible. When you start adding complex clauses to a motion or multiple things to a motion, the public loses the benefit of a clarity of record. Your first part, Ms. Pullen, was a very clear motion. And you were about to say something else again about SR3 becoming BR3. And then you went and added a bunch of other completely different motions. And I recommend against that, again, because you lose the clarity in the record. And I'm not even sure how your minutes keepers would maintain it. So I would suggest keeping that point of order in mind, which is make singular motions as clear as possible and allow the votes to take place on those.
Thank you.
Ms. Pullum.
And you could withdraw your motion, just start
I can
over.
withdraw my last comment. I make a motion to take the superintendent recommendation 3 and turn that into BR3.
Second.
So we have a motion. We have a second. Ms. Schallheim.
I move to amend that motion to add all previous amendments on the table for the other board plans to BR3.
Do we have a second?
So it would mean that
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion of Ms. Schallheim's motion and a second. It's an amendment. Do we have any discussion? Seeing none, you like to speak to?
No, we can vote on the amendment and then on the motion.
Yes. Okay, Ms. Howe.
Ms. Schalheim moved to amend the motion to include SR3 plus the amendments that have previously been included in BR1 and BR2 as BR3.
Yeah.
Ms. McFarland. Aye. Mr. Morgan.
Aye.
Ms. Dent. I'm sorry, she's not here. Dr. Tobin.
Aye.
Ms. McDermott.
Aye.
Ms. Pulliam.
Aye.
Ms. Schalheim.
Aye.
And Mr. Silkworth.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Okay, so now we're back to the motion. Yes. Ms. Pullum. as
So
the
much
motion maker.
attention this evening, right? So I make a motion to, in addition to I make a motion to remove sorry, now I'm getting tongue-tied. I make a motion to put South River Colony Communities at Central Elementary School and not move to Edgewater.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion, we have a second, Ms. Schalheim.
Is this for BR3 before my head explodes? Sorry,
Yeah, it's for BR3.
just BR3.
All of them.
No,
Or the ones that it.
just BR3.
BR3.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Do we have any additional discussion or any discussion? Ms. Howe.
Ms. Pulliam, can you give me one piece of clarity? So you would like to remove the South River Colony communities and not allow them to move to Central, but maintain at Edgewater? Opposite.
Opposite. That's the opposite. So instead of moving them to Edgewater Elementary, keeping them at Central, and I have my light up for comment, Mr.
Ms. Schalheim.
Yeah, so the benefit of having, since we're talking about merits, the benefit of having sort of clean BR1, BR2, BR3 with all of the amendments on it is that our public, who is very interested in all things redistricting right now, can speak to the merits of any of the now hopefully 6 plans. So in my mind, it's best to hear from the public first before we remove amendments that we'll obviously have to do or tweak them or whatever in what will eventually be an adopted plan. So I'm not saying no to you entirely, but I can't support it tonight because I want to hear from the public on a BR3 with all of the existing amendments before we tinker, which is likely to happen, I think, next meeting. Thanks.
Dr. Tobin.
Yeah, I want to concur with Ms. Schalheim because we were very intentional as a board in determining what we wanted to move forward to get the fullest possible public comment. And I'm concerned that we sort of unilaterally cut off the democratic process that we've promised to the public if we make those determinations before the hearings. And so, again, it's not that I disagree necessarily with the substance of your amendment, Ms. Pulliam. It's just that I'm concerned about the process that we've kind of set in motion here, and that I think needs to go through its full full opportunity for public input on all of these things, as we have at every stage of this redistricting. So I think it's important for consistency that we do this. So thank you.
Ms. Pullum?
I would like to hear public comment on the South River Colony piece of that. I think that's really important because it's new based on the data that we were provided. And so I would like to add that and ask for all of you to listen to the community and when in regards to their comments on that.
Okay, I see no more lights. I have to say that I concur with Ms. Schalheim and Dr. Tobin. So seeing no more lights, we do have a motion and a second. No more discussion. Ms. Howe?
Ms. Pulliam moved to remove the South River Colony communities suggested in BR3 from Edgewater Elementary School and allow them to remain at Central Elementary School. Ms. McFarland?
Nay.
Mr. Morgan?
Nay.
Dr. Tobin?
Nay.
Ms. McDermott?
Nay.
Ms. Pulliam?
Yay.
Ms. Schalheim?
I can't tonight, nay.
And Mr. Silkworth?
Nay.
That's 1-6, motion fails.
Okay, do we have any other motions? I think we've taken care of everything so far. I see no more lights. Going once? Twice, okay. Okay. Ms. Roof, Dr. Heiser, thank you so much. Great job. Okay, we're going to be moving on to item 5.02, blueprint for Maryland's future minimum school funding update.
Thank you, Mr. President. We will have our Chief Financial Officer to come up, Mr. Stansky, who will take us through this presentation. And yeah, Mr. Stansky, you might have it a little easy today. Go ahead.
Yeah. Sounds great. All right. We can fire that. Does it work? Awesome. All right. So as promised, President Silkworth, Dr. Bedell, members of the board, presented to you back in June on our progress towards minimum school funding, and promised to give yet another update once we had our final fiscal 25 numbers and fiscal 26 numbers. And so that is this presentation this evening. So just to remind the public and the board, the sort of the runway to get to 100% compliance. So fiscal 25 is our baseline year. So this will set the sort of the floor of where we are with this. Where we are in the current fiscal year then is we have to reduce the gap of schools not in compliance by 50%, or students who go to schools that aren't in compliance. And then by fiscal 27, demonstrate 100% compliance, that all students attend schools that are meeting all the blueprint minimum school funding requirements. So again, to review the timeline, we submit data the 15th of every month to MSDE based on our expenditures for that prior month. On August 15th, fiscal 26 school level budget data was uploaded, as well as our July expenditure data. And then October 15th, although we submitted yesterday, we submitted our final audited numbers by school for fiscal 25. December 1st is the deadline if we need to seek a waiver for any of the requirement for fiscal 26. And then January 1st, MSD sends a report from every LEA on progress during the fiscal year to the AIB for review. So how did we get to where we got to? So we have to go all the way back to the beginning of fiscal 25 to start this journey. And so we really kind of did three things to begin. The biggest one was our resource allocation adjustments, right? So we completely transformed and changed how we allocate teachers to schools. And that was a tiered system based on poverty. We also began the major process of changing our account structure to begin to track by blueprint program and by school. And then we entered into our first, began our first journal vouchers or JVs into taking what were truly school-based expenses, but captured centrally from an efficiency standpoint, and moving them into schools. So think of things like IT or maintenance, things like that. So then what we did is then created budgets for fiscal 26, and we have set up a gap to reduce our plan by our gaps by 50%. And now we have the team in the budget office now tracking and monitoring expenses and process for every school. And then obviously we'll take a look at that data as we formulate our 27 budget to again make sure that we are 100% in compliance in fiscal 27. These again, to remind the board and the public, these are the 9 blueprint categories that we are required to meet compliance with. So it is every school and whatever blueprint program that school qualifies for, they have to meet all programs. If there's one program they do not meet in, we have to apply for a waiver or fix the school. So here's the summary of where we look by all 9 blueprint programs you see in this large table, and we'll go into more details as we get further along in the presentation. But you could see from a district-wide perspective where we ended in fiscal 25 by blueprint program, where we are from a fiscal 26 budget standpoint. So at least happy to report from a budgeted perspective, we believe we're going to meet the compliance target for minimum school funding, which means we will not be seeking a waiver. Although I want you to focus on the notes below that we've budgeted each school to meet the minimum school funding requirement in fiscal 26. There are many factors that could cause that school to fall short. If a teacher goes out on leave, if salaries come in at lower than what we were budgeting for at that particular school. And so we're really monitoring schools in that 75 to 85% range because we feel like that is the range where schools could still fall out of compliance. And then it's also important to note that while the 75% is the target for 8 of the programs, the ninth program is COP, which is 100%. And then I did want the board to see that for fiscal 27 by blueprint program, we are seeing some schools, some outlier schools that at the moment, based on current projection, will not be in compliance. And so we're going to have to work and we'll talk a little bit later too about strategies to get all of those schools that currently are not in compliance into compliance. So we'll walk through each bucket. So again, in June, you saw this slide before. This is foundation. This is money we get for every K-12 student that's enrolled by September 30th. This is these are the things that money is going towards. You can see, of course, the recurring theme will obviously be special education overflow. We do not get enough money for special education students to serve them. And so we're using other blueprint funding sources to meet the needs of those students. And so you could see in fiscal 25, we had 89% of our students attend a school that met minimum school funding. And based on budgeted data for 26, we will have 99% of our students attending a school that meets minimum school funding for foundation. Compensatory education, this is funding we get for every K through 12 student that qualifies for free and reduced price meals. Again, what you see above here is what we use that money for at school level. Main thing here, reducing class sizes. All of our student service positions come out of compensatory education, as well as additional special education spending. So you could see for fiscal 25, we only had 13% of students attend a school that met minimum school funding. This will be a recurring theme. This is really an accounting issue. We did not account for this money. Most of it was in foundation. So we made a lot of accounting changes in fiscal 26 that then equated to now 86% of our students attending a school that meet minimum school funding for compensatory education. Multilingual learner, again, you see here, we get funding for every K through 12. Thank you, my friend. Oh man, it's a big one too. See, that's, when you got teammates like that, what can what can you do? So we do teachers, teaching assistants for our multilingual folks, bilingual facilitators, navigators, and again, special education spending as well. Because we do have multilingual learners who also qualify for IEP services as well. So again, similar, the accounting was not great in fiscal 25, so we only had 5% of our students attend a school that met minimum school funding versus 87% now in fiscal 26. And again, that's all the work the team and budget did from an accounting standpoint to change account structures to get those numbers higher. Special education, pretty straightforward. It's anything you spend funding on related to serving students with IEPs. This one's a little bit different. So the blueprint allows, because there's such variation in how much serving a student with special needs costs, they do not require this at the school level. They require compliance at the aggregate. So we are showing you the school level numbers as well as where we are from an aggregate standpoint. I do want to point out that you see percentages going down, you see percentages going down because we have intentionally used other funding sources to meet the needs of special education students. So we're still well over, as a district, you see we're at 184%. That number is actually even higher because we're using foundation, compensatory education, multilingual money to provide yet additional services for students with IEPs. And so again, that's a recurring theme that we are just not getting the money necessary to support our students with learning disabilities. Pre-kindergarten, again, pretty straightforward. You're teaching assistants, special education teachers and teaching assistants as well. 47% in fiscal 25 met the minimum school funding requirement, and for budget in fiscal 26, we're projecting at this time 92%. So again, a good increases from there as well. Transitional supplemental instruction. Unfortunately, this is a program that is set to expire in fiscal 27. This is our tutoring program for struggling learners in grades K through 3. And so in fiscal 25, we had 82% of students meet the requirement. Fiscal 26, from a budget standpoint, we have 100% of students. And then our concentration of poverty, this is again, we're required to spend 100%. Important to note here, in fiscal 25, only 10% of the students attended the school that met the requirement. But what's good about this funding source is that it's allowed to be carried over into the next school year. So that money doesn't go away. So all it does is just carry over in the next school year. And then we have budgeted at 100% in fiscal 26 for our community schools. And this is only the per pupil grant. We have 47 community schools, but only 36 at this point qualify for the per pupil grant. College and career readiness, again, this is the funding we use for PSAT, SAT that Dr. Bradell alluded to earlier in the meeting, AP exams, IB exams, our dual enrollment program, apprenticeships, internships. Happy to report that we had 99.6% in fiscal 25 meet the requirement, and we're at 99.9% of students meeting a requirement in minimum school funding in this area. And the final one is what we call comparable wage index. It's really tied to the foundation. This is funding we get for being what was deemed a high cost jurisdiction because there's a high cost of living. And so what we do is we take foundation expenses and we journal them over to comparable wage a couple times throughout the year. And so for this one, we were at, or this one, we don't have a chart, but we were at 100% compliance for both 25 and for 26 as well. All right, so what are the challenges I mentioned, but I have to reiterate it because there is variance, that the 26 percentages are based on budgeted amounts. And that many allocate, we do a ton of allocations across schools based on square footage or enrollment, and that actual expenses can and will vary greatly from budget. So something to keep in mind. And then from a communication standpoint, this is where, we're struggling a little bit. And I think it's complicated to explain to folks, which is in low poverty schools, and because they do not have the other populations that generate dollars, we're having to essentially fund them over 100% at foundation to allow them to just operate. So if you look at the example here, school A and school B has higher poverty, more high needs students. But if you just look at the straight percentages, you think, oh, wow, the district's funding school A, which is low poverty, at a higher rate. But when you actually start looking at the dollars and then looking at the class sizes, you could see the higher poverty school has lower average class sizes, and the district is spending almost $3,000 more per student than that. And so just keep this in mind. We do have in foundation 37 schools that are currently funded over 100%, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're getting more. It just means we have to fund them over 100% to allow them to operate the way we need them to operate. Communication on this is critical. We have been advocating really since the Kerwin Commission came out with a recommendation around aggregate per pupil versus tracking by all Blueprint programs. We feel like if they would just hold us compliant to the aggregate, meaning add up all 9 programs per school, get us one number and hold us accountable to that one number, that would tremendously ease the accounting burden that has been placed on LEAs. It would actually give schools maximum flexibility to use the resources to implement their school improvement plans, to braid funds with federal dollars that they're getting to meet the students where they are. We will again, through our legislative program and through MABE and PZAM, continue to advocate for this again. And hopefully we're successful this year. There's obviously communication externally with elected officials, school communities. And then eventually, if we do have to apply for a waiver, I think there will ultimately be a question from school communities like, well, why do you need a waiver from my school? And that's just something we're going to have to work through as a group. So let's talk a little bit more about those schools that aren't in compliance and what we're trying to do, what we're doing to address them. So we have a school allocation committee that has met this summer and is currently still meeting into the fall. We're reviewing again all school-based allocations to ensure they're based on student need and in compliance with minimum school funding. And the plan would be to implement any of those changes for the 26-27 school year. We're going to continue to do these journal vouchers and entries, and it may even be within a school. So a school may be over in foundation and under in compensatory education, and we may have allowable expenses in foundation that can be charged to compensatory. And so we will move those expenses accordingly so we meet them by program. There may have to be an additional request from county government to support some of these schools. If we can't reallocate, because a reallocation would be too detrimental to the school losing resources, we may just have to ask the county government for additional resources to meet, to get these schools over the top, or we'll just have to submit a waiver in fiscal 27 for schools not meeting the requirement. I'm not going to read you the entire waiver process, but this is from the AIB policy. They're really looking for a significant shift in enrollments, such as redistricting, significant shift in at-promise students, or a significant difference in what the school had funded prior year to what they have now, or if there's large increases in countywide obligations like non-public or retiree health benefits. And so you have to do a waiver by school, by program. It has to include data supporting why you're asking for the waiver, evidence of public engagement, supporting documentation, things like that. And again, for this year, we would not plan on submitting a waiver, but the deadline is December 1st, 2025. Okay, so how are we going to keep the board and the public up to date on how we're doing? So you're all familiar with our monthly financial status report, which gives the board and public update monthly on how we're spending by state category and object. What we're going to do now is add this table monthly to the report. This is not the actual data. This is a mock-up, but it is in the report this month that will show you from a district perspective by Blueprint program how we're tracking. And then every other month, we're actually going to show you school by school. And what we'll do is we have these color coded, right? So we'll have projections where we think the green is good, right? Over 85%, 75 to 85, you're in the range of compliance, but we need to look at you a little more closely. The orange is you're below compliance at the moment. And then red obviously is we have some interventions we have to take place. So the board will see this and the public will see this every other month, tracking and how we're doing by school, by Blueprint program, meeting the requirement. And so with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Mr. Silkworth, and happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you, Mr. Stansky. Ms. Schellheim.
Wow, this was incredibly informative. So thank you. I'll start there. On, I don't know what number slide this is, 25, I think, under challenges. And then our advocacy. Are we advocating specific, like for bills? No, it's not this one. I think it's probably
This one?
yes,
Yeah.
that one. Are we advocating specifically for bills that change specific language that we've maybe not mocked up for them, but pretty close to try to move from the every program and a percentage and compliance versus the aggregate number? Or have we just sort of more loosely advocated, like in general, like the whole NCB school counselor thing, you know, like we said it over and over, but I don't think we like sort of created.
Right. So last year we knew there was going to be some sort of mechanism, and that was the Excellence in Education Act, right? That was the mechanism to try and get the counselor language, to try to get the aggregate. So I don't know of a legislative vehicle yet for this session. I think there, if I'm being honest, I think we're going to have more of a challenge this session, just because of the fiscal situation, that there isn't going to be a major alteration to the blueprint, or at least one that isn't sponsored by the administration. And so we're going to have to strategize with our partners to think of the best mechanism, whether it's the budget bill or if it's a separate piece of legislation, to try and get so we have the language drafted and ready, right? It's just now thinking through what's the best mechanism to get something like that on.
I know they're just starting to get their ducks in a row, it being October. So like there's usually the pre-legislative session sort of meeting with, community partners and bond bills and this and that. So I know they're gearing up. Would it be strategically, wouldn't this be like the right time to sit some folks down? It is an election year, talk about the burden, talk about the costs involved with staff and all that, to sort of move the needle. Yeah.
So the answer to that is yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Yeah. Obviously, like logic would dictate that this would be the better way to go. So for whoever's listening out there, thank you.
Dr. Tobin.
Yeah. Thank you, as always, Mr. Stansky. And thank you for your backup team, Mr. Dickerson. So I have one just sort of a little question. It kind of puzzled me. The comparable wage slide, it noted that we received 47% of the difference, if I was following that.
Yeah, that's right.
Why did we only receive 47%?
That's what that percentage is hard coded in state law.
Gotcha.
So yeah,
Okay.
it is.
Okay.
I wouldn't begin to ascertain as to why that is what it is, but
So there's a number, but it's not real. It's only 47% of that number that is real, evidently. Okay. I just was curious about that. So to sort of take this down to the simplest terms, if I'm following, the problem is that foundation funding is not sufficient.
in my opinion, that's absolutely correct.
That's the issue,
Yes,
right?
yes, yeah.
Because we could find ourselves, if we don't follow, if we have schools that we can't sort of get into compliance, and the waiver process doesn't work for us, we're going to potentially be going to the county council for extra money to fund essentially our wealthiest schools, correct? Because that's what it amounts to, I guess, ultimately.
Yeah. So what's fascinating, I guess it depends on how you frame it, because right now our wealthiest schools are all are in the 85 to 100% range, right? So they're set, although elevated class sizes, all of that, right? So it is really we would be seeking resources to get some of our highest need schools up to where they are, even though through the formula, we're resourcing them thousands of dollars more per student.
Right.
I guess the state formulas would say it's not enough. Your range, your gap between high poverty funding and low poverty funding is, while there's a differentiation there, it's not enough.
Not enough.
Per the formula.
Per the formula.
Correct.
And again, if I'm recalling from previous budget discussions, part of what's at issue for us as a county, if I understand it, is based on sort of the blueprint structure. We end up as often wealthier than, say, Howard County, and therefore getting, in effect, less state
aid.
money.
Correct. Yep.
And my understanding of why that is the sheer number of students we have in our public schools relative to our population versus a county like Howard, which has, by virtue of putting a lot of funding into their public schools, essentially ensured that there are not much in the way of private schools in Howard County. Mm-hmm. We, on the other hand, have set ourselves up into a situation where we qualify for less state aid because we've, in my view, underfunded our public schools. And there's been encouragement for all sorts of reasons to create a lot of private schools in our county and have a lot of students going to private schools. So I just sort of throw that out for the public as something to ponder as we head towards budget season, that, you know, these are some of the implications of being a tax cap county, one could say.
Yep.
So I just thought I would remind everyone of that, because that will be part of the continuing issue that we face with county council funding and all the rest of it. So thank you very much, Mr. Stansky.
Ms. Pullum.
Thank you, Mr. Stansky. We are so lucky to have you here because we are much better placed than much of the LEAs in the state. My real concern, it is concerning, the information that you provided, but the transitional programs for the tutors, we've seen a lot of increases in outcomes, and especially the briefing that Dr. Bedell just gave us on all the great advances that we've made. And when you talk about a reduction in costs or income coming in for that we may not get for some of our special programs, that is very concerning. I know that you mentioned that the foundation isn't where we need to be, but this could be a good opportunity because now we can target certain areas for funding. But what I don't want is people to be in fear. So we're okay, but these are the areas that you have concern about, right?
Yeah. Okay is a good word. Yeah, I'm good with okay.
No, but I mean, tomorrow we're not going to fall off. Is
no,
what
no.
Because some people listen to the briefing and they think, okay, I want to make sure we retain our wonderful teachers because we've come a long way, and I don't want the community to be in a situation where they're panicked. But these are just the actual issues that you're dealing with, and when you make magic, this is what you're.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up TSI because it has been a really successful program. And we'll talk more about this as we get into the 27 budget. With that going away, on top of the compensatory education per student revenue is actually going down next year. So if you couple with loss of tutoring money for high need students, plus the essentially the funding source that in the general fund that funds students who come from circumstances of poverty, that's like a double whammy for those schools and those students. And I think it's going to be one of the stories that we're going to have to narrate to our funders next year.
Thank you for all you do, and thank you for this is not a good picture, but thank you for making us have a better picture than many others. And we're here and we're your champions. So thank you very much.
Okay, seeing no more lights, Mr. Stansky, thank you. Thank you, staff. Great job. Okay, we're moving on to item 5.03, 2025-26 calendar revision. Dr. Bedell.
Thank you, Mr. President. Bob Mosier is heading here to the podium, and he will conduct the presentation. As you all know, the school district over the last 3 years pursued legislation that was designed to work to help eliminate the number of early release days that we have here in Anne Arundel County Public Schools. Over my first 3 years, we've had 12 early release days, making us one of the highest rates of early release days in the state. This legislation is designed to solve that, to also bring more continuity to our educators, but continuity to our family. Mr. Mosier will present to you all the data on the information we've sent out in the form of a survey. And then after his presentation, I will make a recommendation should the board want to move forward with taking action tonight.
Thank you, Dr. Bedell. Good evening, President Silkworth, members of the board, and Dr. Bedell. I'm Chief Communications Officer Bob Mosier, here to present item 5.03, the proposed revision of the 25-26 school year calendar. By way of background, House Bill 226, approved by the Maryland General Assembly during its 2025 session and signed into law by Governor Wes Moore in May, allows Anne Arundel County Public Schools to create a school year calendar that meets the minimum number of seat hours at the elementary, middle, and high school levels, even if that calendar does not meet the 180-day requirement utilized in prior years and still in use in all other Maryland jurisdictions. I want to take a minute to acknowledge the hard work of our Director of Legislation and Policy, Grace Wilson, who led the effort over the last 3 years to get this bill through the General Assembly with the firm support of this board, and who has relentlessly worked with stakeholder groups since the bill's passage to arrive at the revised calendar being presented to you tonight. State law requires that elementary and middle schools be in session for at least 1,080 hours each school year, and that high schools be in session for a minimum of 1,170 hours. House Bill 226 gives AACPS the flexibility to change our calendar by removing early dismissal days. As has often been discussed before this board and elsewhere, and as Dr. Bedell just alluded to, our current calendar has 12 early dismissal days built into it. The proposal recommended by Dr. Bedell before you tonight calls for us to eliminate 6 of those early release days at the end of the second, third, and fourth marking periods and replace them with 1 full student day followed by 1 day for teacher grading and other staff to engage in professional learning. Ms. Wilson and other staff have been working with bargaining unit leaders on this proposal, including the crafting of the professional learning. It's also critical to note that no employee would lose compensation should the board adopt this adjustment. I also want to especially point out that should the board take action to adopt this revised calendar this evening, the early dismissal days at the end of the first marking period, set for October 27 and 28, would be unaffected and would remain early dismissal days. As this board is aware, Dr. Bedell sought public input on the issue before bringing it to you tonight, and our school district conducted a survey from September 19th through October 1st. We received more than 9,500 responses, and you can see here the diversity of those responding. I would point out to you that the number of responses is more than 300 higher than the responses to the survey the board conducted when it adopted the current school year calendar, asking about the 2-week break between Christmas and New Year's. As you see here, the results also represent the breadth of our school district community and the places from which our responses came. Overall, more than 91% of respondents favored the elimination of the early dismissal days and moving to the setup proposed by Dr. Bedell. That's nearly 10 percentage points higher than the survey I just mentioned about Christmas winter break in the current school year calendar. There were several themes that emerged from the more than 2,000 written comments in this survey, which have all been provided to the board. They included the fact that full days are far easier for families to navigate, that student attendance will likely be enhanced on full days, and families like the fact that 2 of the 3 non-student days fall on either Fridays or Mondays, creating longer breaks. The third takes a student day off of the end of the school year. There were also a couple of concerns that emerged, and I want to go over those quickly. The availability of school-age childcare at schools on a full day was one. To that point, Ms. Wilson has spoken with Recreation and Parks officials which operate school-age childcare, and they are very supportive of this change because it will be easier for them to staff on a full day than 2 partial days. And another theme was ensuring that teachers have the full day available to complete grading and not be interrupted by meetings and the like. I'd like to make a couple of other points very quickly. The 3 remaining Unity Days scheduled for December 9, February 10, and March 17 will remain early dismissal days as they are designated in the board-approved calendar. The board's negotiated with the agreement with the Teachers Association calls for 10-month teachers to work 191 days. That is not impacted by the adjustments being proposed tonight. The last day for teachers will remain June 18th. And we have left in this proposal the built-in additional time for inclement weather. So if all 3 inclement weather days or the equivalent thereof are used, we would still remain 21.6 hours over the minimum seat hours at the high school level and far more than that at the elementary and middle school levels. And finally, should the board approve this adjustment, we will use it as the framework for the calendar committee's work on the 26-27 calendar. With that, President Silkworth, I'll turn it back over to you for any questions the board may have.
Dr. Tobin?
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that item 5.03 go from an information item to an action item.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, a second. Any discussion? We have consensus? Okay, we do have consensus. Dr. Bedell.
Thank you, Mr. President. The superintendent recommends approval of the revised calendar as presented with the elimination of 6 remaining early dismissal days and associated adjustments in marking periods 2, 3, and 4.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing no lights, Ms. Howe.
Ms. McFarland. Aye. Mr. Morgan.
Aye.
Dr. Tobin.
Aye.
Ms. McDermott.
Aye.
Ms. Pulliam.
Aye.
Ms. Schallheim.
Aye.
Mr. Silkworth.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Dr. Bedell.
Mr. Silkworth, I just want to offer one more reminder that Mr. Mosier stated in the presentation, the early dismissal days at the end of the first marking period, those 2 on October 27th and 28th, would be unaffected by the adoption of this revised calendar. So we will have those 2 early release days as articulated on the calendar. I just don't want any misunderstanding. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bedell. Okay, we're moving on to some consent items. Do I have a motion to bundle?
Motion to bundle items 6.01 to 6.03.
Second.
We have a motion to bundle. Second, do we have any discussion? Do you have consensus? And we do. Dr. Bedell.
Thank you, Mr. President. The superintendent recommends that the Board of Education authorize the award of contracts on the consent items numbered 6.01 through 6.03.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Ms. Howe.
Ms. McFarland. Aye. Mr. Morgan.
Aye.
Dr. Tobin.
Aye.
Ms. McDermott.
Aye.
Ms. Pulliam.
Aye.
Ms. Schallheim.
Aye.
Mr. Silkworth.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Okay, moving on to item 7.01, administrative personnel appointments. Dr. Bedell.
Thank you, Mr. President. The superintendent recommends that the personnel listed on the attached sheet be promoted and/or appointed as discussed in executive close.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Ms. Howe.
Ms. McFarland. Aye. Mr. Morgan.
Aye.
Dr. Tobin.
Aye.
Ms. McDermott.
Aye.
Ms. Pulliam.
Aye.
Ms. Schallheim.
Aye.
And Mr. Silkworth.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Okay, we're moving on to item 7.02, the fiscal year 2027 budget priorities. A member had requested that we take a look at that this evening. We're going to go in roll call order to see if anyone has any motions in regarding this. And we're beginning with Ms. McFarland.
I have no motions.
Okay. Mr. Morgan.
I have no motions.
Dr. Tobin.
I have no motions.
Ms. McDermott,
I also have no motions.
Ms. Pullum,
I have no motion.
Ms. Shalheim.
You betcha, I have a motion. All right, so I move to reword number 5 just for some added clarity. So this is to clarify what was written. This is not to remove anything from this list, nor add anything to this list necessarily, just to clarify. Well, I am adding one thing. So, but it's by and large to clarify. So I would like to reword number 5 to read as stated. Continue to support compensation efforts competitive with other LEAs for all staff, including the following: A, evening/summer school instructors; B, food and nutrition service workers; C, stipends for extracurricular instructors; and D, social workers.
Ms. Shawheim, just for clarity, it's number 4 that you are revising. That's okay.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. Is there any discussion? So I will suggest that from my standpoint, I will probably be in opposition to this motion. I think we've heard over the past year or so, I certainly am supportive of all of our employees, cafeteria workers, and everyone. However, it's my belief that in this case, our motion should not include specific groups. And so, having said that, I will be in opposition to this. Is there, Ms. Shahan, would you like, as the motion maker, to have a final comment?
Sure. To reiterate, my motion states continue to support compensation efforts competitive with other LEAs for all staff. And then I included those following groups. We have been specific every year. I've been on this board with various either amendments to the budget or in board budget priorities that we present to the superintendent for just, when we approve them in the fall. We did hear from what we can see it in our staffing reports every single meeting. We have asked for compensation to address our lowest paid employees a couple years ago. That was addressed. We know that there's inequities in other areas. So again, it says all staff, but I did call out those 4 groups. I would like to remind the board that this document was passed 2 meetings ago, and I just wanted to provide a little bit more clarity because the existing 4B was a little, could have caused some confusion with staff. This is just to make that language cleaner and to recognize the challenges in our school system. Thank you.
Mr. Morgan.
I kind of want to follow up and for my own clarity, and again, I'm a huge fan of the priority. Just you mentioned it should say for all employees. Can we see or can I just hear the amendment again as written? So what I see does not say for all, and so.
Absolutely. So what's up there was what we approved 2 meetings ago. I did reword this. I did send it to Ms. Howell, maybe if she wouldn't mind sending it around to everyone just so you can see the exact wording. I would certainly appreciate it.
The one I'm seeing says for the following.
Yeah, I added all.
Oh yeah, today. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, any more comments? Okay, Ms. Howell.
Ms. Shawheim moved to amend board budget priority number 4 to read, continue to support compensation efforts competitive with other LEAs for all staff, including the following: evening, summer school instructors, food and nutrition service workers, stipends for extracurricular instructors. Ms. McFarland. Oh, I'm sorry. And D, social workers. Ms. McFarland.
Aye.
Mr. Morgan.
Nay.
Dr. Tobin.
Aye.
Ms. McDermott.
Aye.
Ms. Pulliam.
Nay.
Ms. Schalheim.
Aye.
And Mr. Silkworth.
Nay.
That's 4-3. Motion fails.
Okay, so we're going in roll call order. It is now my turn. So I would like to make a motion to change line 4 to read as follows. Continue to support compensation efforts for all employees competitive with other LEAs to promote recruitment and retention of staff.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a second discussion. Okay, seeing no lights, Ms. Howe.
I'm sorry, Mr. Silkworth. Can you please reread your motion?
I certainly can. I move to change line 4 to read as follows. Continue to support compensation efforts for all employees competitive with other LEAs to promote recruitment and retention of staff.
Thank you. Ms. McDermott? I'm sorry, Ms. McFarland?
Nay.
Mr. Morgan?
Aye.
Dr. Tobin?
Aye.
Ms. McDermott?
Nay.
Ms. Pulliam?
Aye.
Ms. Schalheim?
Nay.
And Mr. Silkworth?
Aye.
It's 4-3. Motion fails.
Okay, we're still in roll call order. We're back to Ms. McFarland. Okay, Mr. Morgan?
I have no motions.
Dr. Tobin?
No motion.
Ms. McDermott?
No motions.
Ms. Pullum?
No motion.
Ms. Schalheim?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Okay, that's it. Okay. Moving on then to our review items, 8.01, our fiscal year 2025 operating budget closeout. Any concerns? Seeing none, and our 8.02 monthly financial status report. No concerns, and the 8.03 construction status report. Okay, so that brings us, ladies and gentlemen, to our public comments on non-agenda items. These folks have been very patient this evening. So, once again, ladies and gentlemen, this is one of the opportunities that the board provides to hear the views and receive the advice of community members. The members of this board appreciate hearing from interested citizens as appropriate. We will refer your concerns to the superintendent for follow-up by his staff. While we encourage public input on policies, programs, and practices within the purview of this board and the school system, this is not the proper forum to address specific student or employee matters or to comment on matters that do not relate to public education in Anne Arundel County. I remind everyone that any inappropriate personnel remarks or other behavior that disrupts or interferes with the conduct of this meeting are out of order. Persons who otherwise disrupt or disturb this meeting will not be allowed to continue their remarks and will be asked to leave the meeting. It is not the board's general practice to engage in question and answer sessions with speakers. For the record, please give your name before speaking. Handouts should be given to the board assistant. I ask that speakers observe the 2-minute clock. A yellow light will shine when you have 30 seconds remaining and a tone will sound when your time has expired. Please conclude your remarks when you hear the tone. If you continue after your time has expired, the microphone will be turned off. It could also be turned off if a speaker addresses specific student or employee matters or are commenting on matters not related to public education in Anne Arundel County. We have 7 speakers, I believe, this evening. I'm going to be calling up the first 5. Can come on up and have a seat. Stacy Schofield, Kimberly Chance, Robert Henry, Kevin Caton Jr., and Brian Riddle. You can speak from the podium or you can have a seat and speak from the seats. We're starting with Stacy Schofield.
Hi. Okay. Where's that little timer? Right here? All right.
You all can have a
Let me
seat.
see it. I've been practicing 2 minutes. I might be 2:05. I'm going to go fast. All right. Yeah, okay. Good evening. My name is Stacy Schofield. I am coming to you tonight as a parent and as a teacher. To begin, I would like to thank you for the generous funding of the CASE and FFA programs at Southern High School and Cat North earlier this year. As a parent of 2 sons who are a part of the program, I cannot adequately express in 2 minutes the immense positive, life-changing impact CASE and FFA have had on my sons. Through my sons and Dr. Eccles, I myself have become immersed in agriculture, not only as a parent, but as the librarian at Mills Parole Elementary. This immersion has helped me recognize the lack of agricultural literacy exposure at the elementary level, even though it is a part of CKLA in every grade level. Using resources I have gathered from agriculture classes I have taken, the support of the students at FFA who bring their expertise to our schools by reading with our students, coming in, bringing their animals and tractors. For Career Day, my students at Mills Parole have come to understand the importance of agriculture in all of our lives. We hatched chickens last year in the library, and one of my 4th graders showed one of the hens at the county fair in September. This quiet, shy, introverted young lady proudly stood in front of strangers and a judge to talk about our chickens and what agriculture means to her. The first question each new school year is usually, are we getting books today? The questions this year were, how are the chickens? Can we do it again? Can we grow more vegetables? And what are we going to learn this year about farming? My students are invested, eager, and excited to learn about and participate in agricultural literacy programs. Because of the limited scheduling matrix option, it is very difficult to offer courses to all students at Southern who are interested in CASE and FFA. If we open Southern's doors to South River, Crofton, and Annapolis, we could offer a variety of ag courses and have more matrix options that would benefit more students. Further, by investing in the CASE program, we would be complying with the new standards from MSDE and would be able to provide a full ag science pathway.
Please summarize.
Thank you.
Please summarize.
Can I say 2 more sentences? Okay. Our 1 part-time teacher program could become a 2-teacher program with students completing in 2 years instead of the now 4. In conclusion, I implore you to expand the CASE program so that more students like mine can have the opportunity to excel and find their purpose in agriculture as my sons and I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Chance.
Hi, I'm Kim Chance. My daughter actually used to attend Southern and the CASE program. My daughter was the last student that had principal approval to attend Southern High from Annapolis. She participated in the CASE program. She was accepted to STEM and the IB program, but after seeing what the CASE program offered, this is what she chose. It states in the handbook that students have the right to participate in any class in the school curriculum. This includes the CASE Completer program. The description of the course curriculum in the handbook actually notes that this program includes classroom learning, FFA leadership and career development, and supervised agricultural experiences. The current policy, though, limits students outside of Southern High to only participate in classes only, forcing students to transport their students back and forth multiple times during the day to go back to their home school. This is an unreasonable burden for the parents. And this policy only addresses the classroom learning. It does not address the other 50% of this completer program. The FFA meets before school. It has activities at lunch and after school. This policy is not viable for students that want to make the most of this program. As part of this program, my daughter won three state championships in public speaking and represented the state of Maryland at the national level. She worked on a farm for her agricultural experience for 4 years training horses. She learned leadership skills, how to network with industry leaders and politicians, and how to advocate for herself, her peers, and the things she believes in. This experience set the foundation for my daughter's success. She attended NC State with a degree and got a degree in poultry science with minors in genetics and biology. Can I finish? Okay.
Go ahead and summarize, man.
She got her master's degree also in poultry science with a microbiology minor that was fully funded by the school. She graduated from college fully able to support herself and got a job at the second largest poultry company in the US. The agriculture industry offers these students so many opportunities, and why are we making it so hard for kids outside of the district to access the program?
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Robert Henry. Let me adjust this a little better. I'm a former Southern High School graduate and former Southern FFA member. Southern has had a FFA chapter since 1928. For those of you who don't know, FFA was founded in 1928. So for 97 years, there's been an FFA chapter at Southern. It's not a club organization. It's a path in life. It's a family. It's a community. The area around Southern is really rural, and I invite each and every one of you to come down our way and take kind of a peek at what is around Southern High School. What you'll see is a lot of farmland, a lot of agriculture, which is what important for the FFA program at Southern High School. And the importance of agriculture in schools is far beyond crucial. Since graduating and being in agriculture organizations, I have seen the growing absence of agriculture education. Taking FFA and providing that opportunity and option to other schools would be so helpful for this issue and would increase students' commitment to have after-school conversations and connections that will greatly enhance their academic and professional careers. Ever since my freshman year, 2018, I have been involved in the local farming and agricultural community, meeting many local farmers and local producers and gaining long-lasting relationships with them. And I am currently the chair of Anne Arundel County Young Farmers and sit on the Anne Arundel County Farm Bureau board, allowing me to make more relationships with State Farm Bureau and more members. All these connections and resources have made me involved. I got a couple more sentences. Can I finish?
Go ahead.
I'll
summarize.
I've been made involved, or all thanks to being involved with FFA at Southern. And if I were at another school, I don't think I'd be able to have those opportunities and be where I'm at in life. Major ask is to allow those outside of Southern to come to Southern and gain that agricultural knowledge like I did and have a better path or way into agriculture, and also to allow it at Southern and stay at Southern. So thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Mr. Riddle.
I'm still awake. Thank you. My name, long night. So for sure. Good evening, members of the board and Dr. Bedell. I appreciate the opportunity to come here and share a little perspective. As a 53-year-old agricultural business based in Davidsonville and that my father started, I've had a lot of privilege of gaining perspective on the challenges of agriculture and the challenges that we face going forward. In the 12 years as the president of our company, I've had the privilege of getting to know our FFA program and the great things that are going on down there. And I want to tell you how much I appreciate the support from this board and from our school system, because as I've just heard, and I know you'll hear more, it's a vitally important program. Not just my perspective obviously comes from our needs, but having an understanding of the greater agricultural community, the opportunities that exist, and the way in which you foster, nurture, and really trigger the opportunities that young people will recognize if given the access to the programs. I want to stress how incredible our educator is down there, Dr. Eccles, in the Southern High School program. She does a tremendous job. When I came back into the community in 2011, the program had some issues. Since her leadership, she has done a phenomenal job, and I just want to take the time for you all to recognize and support and really give the tools and the support that is needed to let that program grow, because it is a phenomenal thing, and we all need it. Sustainability in agriculture, it depends on the young people that come into it, and there is a tremendous shortage in our industry, and we do not have the supply that's necessary to support industries like mine and agriculture as a whole. So I appreciate you taking the time to listen to me.
Thank you so much. So Julia House and Zoe House. Julia? Huh? Oh, I'm sorry. All right. Kevin?
Good evening, honorable members of the board. Thank you for the opportunity to speak here tonight, and thanks for the line item funding in last year's budget that helps support agriculture education. My name is Kevin Caden. I'm a senior at Southern High School and the current president of the Southern FFA chapter. When I first joined FFA 4 years ago, I never imagined the kind of personal growth I would experience. My first competition was the FFA Creed speaking contest, and I was a nervous freshman. I ended up becoming regional champion, and since then, I've gone from being that shy, nervous freshman to a National Agricultural Proficiency Award recipient, a participant in the Washington Leadership Conference, and a competitor at the national level in 2 different agriculture events. FFA has helped me find my voice and my purpose. Through the agri-science curriculum, I've developed real-world skills in plant science, greenhouse management, and leadership. I've been fortunate enough to spend over 135 hours managing our greenhouse and have used that experience to grow our chapter, help our chapter grow 100 pounds of fresh produce donated to the Anne Arundel County Food Bank this summer. What makes me most proud is how our chapter has grown at Southern. In just 4 years, our chapter's participation and enrollment has doubled, and at our most recent interest meeting had 25 new members wanting to join. Of the more than 60 students in our agriculture courses, only 6 of them come from a farming background. The idea that FFA is just for farm kids couldn't be farther from the truth, and I am living proof of that. Students who once joined for a pack of Oreos now stay because they found something meaningful, a place where they belong. Members of the Anne Arundel County Board of Education, I urge you to visit Southern High School and experience the agri-science program firsthand. See the impact it has on students just like me, and understand why expanding the opportunity to South River and Crofton isn't beneficial. It's essential for the future of agriculture education in our county. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Julia House, alumni and parent of Southern High School. Agriculture has always been the backbone of Maryland, from rolling fields of the Eastern Shore to the thriving farmers markets that bring our communities together. But agriculture today is more than just farm and fields. It's science, technology, sustainability, and innovation. It's about teaching our students not only where their food comes from, but how they can shape the future of food, the environment, and our economy. That's exactly what the CASE program, Curriculum for Agriculture Science Education, is doing right here in Anne Arundel County Public Schools. Under the inspiring leadership of Dr. Stacy Eccles, the program has blossomed, quite literally. Students have learned to grow plants, raise animals, and cultivate responsibility, teamwork, and leadership. What started as an idea has become a vibrant, hands-on learning experience that connects the classroom to the community. Our CASE students aren't just studying agriculture, they're living it. They've competed at the state and national levels, proudly representing Anne Arundel County and Maryland. They've showcased their hard work at the Maryland State Fair, Anne Arundel County Fair, and where they've shown their dedication and skill shine for all to see. They've partnered with local businesses, community organizations to strengthen the ties between our schools and our economy. And every year they roll up their sleeves to create and sell fresh wreaths during the holiday, flowers and plants in the spring, donate vegetables in the summer, tangible proof of their learning and entrepreneurship. This program grows more than plants. It grows leaders, problem solvers, and citizens who understand the importance of sustainable agriculture and environmental stewardship. But here's the truth. Programs like CASE don't thrive on passion alone. They need support, resources, and recognition. So my ask today is simple but significant. Let's take this program seriously. Let's give it the funding, the space, and the opportunity to grow. Because when we invest in agriculture education, we're investing in the future of Maryland. Our students are ready to feed the world, protect the planet, and innovate for tomorrow. But they can't do it without us. Let's make sure this program continues to flourish under Dr. Eccles' leadership, and that future generations of students have the same chance to grow, literally and figuratively. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Zoe Howes and I'm a sophomore at Southern High School. I am currently serving as the chapter reporter for Southern. I am a 3-sport athlete and an honor roll student. I have been an avid for the past 4 years and I'm college bound. My dad is a commercial waterman, so farming and agriculture wasn't something I was considering until I met Dr. Eccles. Her being involved in helping the community as much as she does, how she taught and showed all the FFA and agriculture students. Dr. Eccles has helped me come out of my comfort zone and I have met new people and friends. My leadership skills have improved multiple ways and so have my ability to work with the community. At the beginning of the year, I had trouble fitting agriculture in my schedule, but Dr. Eccles offered me a higher level class knowing that she would be able to teach and offer me help when needed. Dr. Eccles and the FFA program helped me learn and grow in multiple different ways and do things that I never thought I would. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And we'd like to once again thank all of you for staying with us so late this evening. Thank you so much. So, do I hear a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to adjourn. Second, consensus? I think we do. On November the 4th, Monday, November the 4th, the policy committee will be meeting, virtual meeting at 3 o'clock. Members of the board will have a MABE conference on Monday and Tuesday of next week at the Westin Hotel on Annapolis. That's the 20th and 21st. And the next board meeting will be Wednesday, November the 5th, meeting here in the boardroom. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Have a great day.